Welcome to episode 7 of the Rebel Rundown. This is our second take of this episode, unfortunately. The first one, we had some technical difficulties. We were supposed to have Al, but we've got Hayley back.
Sorry, Al, it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, we got through about 15 minutes and the camera decided to stop recording. We filmed about an hour all up and only found out afterwards. But we're going to get back into it. Al's on placement now, so we couldn't get her back on to film it. It just wasn't going to work with her schedule. But today we're going to be doing a little monthly recap as we always do, and then we're going to get into some member questions after that and do our best to answer them.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It was funny, we were joking about who was going to have the better episode. Ben and, I think he was going to do it with Andy and me and Al, but sorry, Ben. Ben and Hayley, that's it.
Yeah.
We'll never get to know. Cool, we've had a pretty good month. It's been busy. It's been a while since we've done our last one. It's been over a month, definitely.
Yeah.
But we did All-Stars, so that was good fun. Everyone had a great time. Neil enjoyed that a lot more than he enjoyed High Rocks, so
He just told me he might be signing up for the next High Rocks.
You're joking?
In a team.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not sure why.
You're a hypocrite, Neil.
Yeah.
He posted in the High Rocks Facebook group, Mal posted the thing and he's like, no, he put like a meme saying no. All right, I'll have to have a chat to Neil.
Yeah.
Anyway, All-Stars was good. 2-day event. It ran pretty well. All our teams did pretty well. Our team ended up coming third. I know, it's hard to keep up. Third, which is good. The other teams, there was a few of our teams that were pretty close to a podium spot as well.
Yeah, they all did really well. We had Ish, Brendan, Grace, and Lizzie, and all of them except for Ish, that was their first competition. They smashed it. Tegan, Elise, Neil, and Grange was another team. So some first competitions in there as well. Those guys did really well. I think they finished maybe 6th or something.
Yeah, so they've qualified for the next stage, which I don't know that they'll go. I think Neil's probably keen, but yes, they did well enough to qualify for that.
Yeah.
Erin,
and then
Stevo,
the Saw Rebels.
The Saw Rebels, Kate and Stephen.
Yeah.
They had fun too. I don't know. They did pretty well.
Yeah, I think they did really well. They were pretty happy overall. It was a fairly competitive division, which Genty was on a team with Thornbury. That her team came second in that, and Byron was also on a team from Thornbury. So yeah, really good weekend overall. Lots of positives and good bit of fun. So well done.
Yeah, it was good fun. CrossFit Games have also been and gone. Pretty interesting one this year. Daisy smashed it, which was awesome to watch her. She came 6th in the first event, which was amazing. But you guys probably know there was a bit of, I don't know.
Well, a very unfortunate event in one of the male competitors drowning. So I probably, when we first shot this, it was like straight after the games, and so it was pretty raw still. It's probably like things have settled a little bit now, and it's going to be really interesting to see exactly what comes of it all and how that might impact, future CrossFit Games and whatnot. But obviously with such a terrible and dramatic event occurring, it changed the feel of the games very much, and they didn't do all the events. They weren't sure if it was definitely going to go ahead. A bunch of athletes, a bunch did in the end, not necessarily immediately over the course of the weekend. More dropped off. They still had like probably 2/3 of the field competing, but it was very emotional for them, and especially people doing their first ever games, to have that occur in your first time and completely change the feel of it. A little bit unfortunate, but the Aussies did awesome. Tia won her 7th, and I don't think there's any asterisks there. She was gonna win no matter what. We had a team win and another Aussie team get 2nd place, which is pretty cool. And the men were doing pretty good as well. I think Ricky finished inside the top 10.
Jay got injured.
Jay was in the top 10, got injured, had to withdraw for the final. So he was potentially even going to push for a podium spot. He was, he might have been coming 6th.
I don't know.
At that
I wasn't
point,
keeping up that much. It was so interesting because I was pretty busy though, but it just became like kind of hard to watch. Like Yeah, I feel so sad for like everybody involved. Like they train so hard for the games, and then it's just something like that happens, and it just all changes like on the spot, and nobody expects that. So yeah, it's just sad sort of looking back at it, and
the excitement wasn't wasn't there, and
I found myself I'd like go and
energy.
I'd watch, like I wanted to watch Daisy, but then like she wasn't really always on the camera too, and I'm watching and I'm just like, I don't really want to watch this. It was just hard to watch.
It's very
to sort of get around.
Really unfortunate in a lot of ways, but still some really cool stuff to come from it as well.
It was like there's some cool workouts to watch. Like what was your, of the ones they did, what was your favorite one to watch?
Good question. I thought the one with the rope climbs and the GHCs, the ones you did was pretty cool. The final event was pretty cool, but it's just hard because you're just watching the athletes, and like a lot of them were just emotionally drained. And the other thing I would say too is that I didn't think the venue that they did this at and the way that it was run in general stacked up to a lot of previous years. It just didn't seem as kind of grand and on that same kind of scale, which they had cut a lot of funding from it. So I don't know how much that played into it, but still some cool events.
My favourite event to watch, thanks for asking,
I was going to ask.
Was the Echo Bike burpee one. That was pretty cool to watch, actually, because they sort of, like, the first one back in after, like, they had because they cancelled all the events on Friday, then they did that rope climb one, which was a cool event. But then the next one they did was Echo Bike and burpee over these, like, little barricade things. And it was just like a full send race. Like it just looked like everyone was trying their hardest and going hard. And Grace Walton won the event for the women, which was awesome to see. So I loved watching that.
She's an Aussie athlete,
if
you don't know.
So
First time at the games.
She was the one, we spoke about her in the other podcast where I was running along and I'm like, that's Grace Walton behind me. That was sick to see. And then also that night too, they did the track event. And that was also really cool, like watching Ricky. He ran like a sub 5 minute mile and made it look so easy. Like I heard an interview of him saying after, he's like, I just wanted to go out hard and see if anyone wanted to come with me, and nobody did. So he just smashed them all. And then they did this sprint after. They had to like carry a sandbag and sprint up and down a field. And he literally was like in third place. And I was like, there's no coming back from that. It was like watching the Flash, like sprint from one end of this football field to the other. He just took off, and it was pretty cool, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We watched it in here. It was fun. Yeah.
Double win, although it wasn't a double. It was one event.
Yeah, he didn't get the 100 points from it.
But he should have. But anyway.
Yeah. So anyway, that was the games. Interesting one this year, and it'll be interesting to see sort of what comes from it. Yeah.
Yeah. We also had a testing period, which went awesome. We're already like 3 weeks into the next training block now. So, but the testing went awesome. We had lots of people making improvements in work capacity, in our endurance tests.
In lifts.
Yeah, lots of strength gains, which was cool. And then lots of really good results coming into the next block, which we'll retest at about the 12-week mark of the current cycle. So lots of pats on the back there.
What's this one called?
Build.
We're
building. We created a base. Now we're building. If you think about how you construct a house,
we build the base. Now we're building, and
the finishing touches coming into the CrossFit Open and through quarterfinals. So but
it was really cool to see on the testing, like especially the endurance. Heaps of the runners like took off minutes off their time, which was pretty cool to see. And I felt like I was ringing that PB bell like 100 times a day. It was it was cool.
Yeah, definitely.
It was awesome. All right, let's do questions. So we have a bunch of questions. I guess Ben put out like on Facebook and put out for members to email him questions as well. So we have a fair few. I've tried to sort of link them together so that related questions, we can just sort of flow from one to the other. And yeah, I think we'll just keep them all sort of anonymous. You don't need to know who they come from.
I might mention some names, we'll see.
Okay, well, whatever. All right, I'll read the first one, Ben. Ready? When you want to work on multiple skills or get good at multiple skills at once, example, handstand walks, double unders, muscle ups, is it good to practice them all on different days, or should you focus on one over the others? If you can focus on more than one, how many would you suggest?
Yeah, look, it's a good question. A lot of it would be determined by how many times you can get to the gym and be able to work on those skills. So if you can get to 3 open gym sessions a day, a day, a week. Yeah. We don't have 3 a day. That's not even possible. But if you can get to 3 a week, then you'd be looking at doing 1 to 2 skills per day. For a lot of people, like trying to do more than 2 skills is not going to work super well, because it's just, they take time, they take energy, they take focus, and yeah, there's only so much of that you can really apply at a time. Generally, I'd even say just for the most part, stick to 1 and just do that really well and get the required amount of work in. And depending on the skill and what your priorities are, you might actually do some skills twice a week.
Yeah.
They all vary a little bit. Some skills you can work on with higher frequency, and some a bit more taxing, and you need be a little bit more mindful. So yeah, I know that's not a really, really clear, concise answer, but if you're only coming into 1 open gym session a week, I would do max of 2 skills, and you need to do them for long enough that you're actually going to get the kind of adaptation and improvement that you want before you start pulling those skills out and chucking in other ones.
Yeah.
So be smart. I think the most important thing here is that, you know, you guys have got a team of coaches, use us. Like, if you really want to gain a skill, you should hit us up, shoot us an email, book in a time to come and sit down with a coach, do a PT session where we can write you out a program to follow for at least 4 weeks, maybe 6 weeks, show you how to actually perform these movements properly, and then do your training, and then come and check back in 4 to 6 weeks later and get it upgraded, get it updated, and then progress from there. Because yeah, like, there isn't sort of an exact blanket answer to all this, and depending on the skill and your level and where you're at, there might be a strength component that it's not just purely skill. So that is what I would really recommend to get the most out of yourself coming in and doing skill work.
And I think, like, I've got 2 things to say. First one is, like, when you say handstand walks, double unders, muscle ups, obviously there's 3 things there. I would look at that and see what the most accessible one to do is, like, around class as well. So obviously you've got more time in open gym, but for something like double unders, you can practice that every day and it's not going to cook you. You also don't really need to warm up for it. So, like, you could put 5 minutes every day into your double unders just before class by coming in. Like Stevie J used to do it. He used to just come down here to the front of the gym and do 5 minutes of double unders before class, and his double unders improved heaps. And it wasn't as if he was getting sore from it. Like, he had good days, bad days, but he just did it every day, no matter what. So something like that's easy. When it comes to muscle ups, you know, you do that 1 time per week, maybe 2, as Ben was saying. Like, a good example is Gonzalo. He's been smashing his muscle ups, and he comes in every Sunday, and every Sunday he does bar muscle ups. He also attends, you know, multiple other open gym times during the week. Like, he's always here on a Friday, but he doesn't do bar muscle up on Friday. He does something else. And then on Sundays he comes in. The first few weeks we did box drills, and he just did box drills, and then, you know, did some attempts, and then eventually he got to a point where he was doing it by himself. And then now we've progressed that. So, you know, last week he did every 2 minutes for like 20 minutes. He did 4 muscle ups unbroken. And then we spoke about this week, he's going to try and do every minute 45. So just, like, you know, we're progressing it in that open gym, and he's just doing it, you know, 1 time per week, and they're improving tremendously. So I would look at, like, what takes more time, what you need to put in open gym, what you can do around class. Also, like, if there's a class that has bar muscle up work in it, that's perfect. You can do bar muscle ups there, and then in open gym you can do the handstand walking when, you know, because you don't need to redo it. You don't need to do it like a million times in the week. So, yeah. It does take time though. You just have to be patient. And if you have a bad day, just brush it off.
Yeah, skills are tricky. Cool, we've got another question that is along the same lines. How/what do we prioritise for development? This question's very specifically sort of around wanting to qualify for quarterfinals, being confident to do intermediate competition. So, yeah, what I would first say to that is when it comes to quarterfinals, you need to first look back at the CrossFit Open that you've just done and look at all of your results and see how they stacked up. And without doubt, you'll have like a standout performance, something sort of maybe in the middle and something that's like a bit behind. And you need to look at that and then break it down and sort of go, okay, is this like, you know, skill related, strength related, work capacity related? Look at it based off that. Like that is your first point of call. But then you can look at like, say, the quarterfinals workouts as well and go, is there anything in here that I cannot do at all? And if there is, then obviously we want to work on that too, because if you do qualify for quarters, you want to actually be able to give it a proper go. So using the information that we have from your previous CrossFit Open and then looking at the quarterfinals and looking at where you currently sit is a good starting point. We can also look at like some benchmark workouts and whatnot. And, you know, we have a pretty good idea of like what kind of weights you need to be able to do. You know, you want to be able to probably do like 80% of the workouts that we program in the gym as prescribed. If you can do that, you're definitely in the ballpark of qualifying for quarterfinals. Yeah, we do chuck some really tricky workouts in here and there, but you should be able to do most of them as prescribed and within the kind of like time frames and whatnot that we set out too. So if it says that it should take 12 to 15 minutes and you can do it in 20, you know, that's not kind of where you need to be.
You want to be getting the correct workout stimulus because like as much as you want to be doing stuff RX in order to do like, you know, the open RX or whatever, you also don't want to be making a 15-minute workout, a 20-minute workout by doing it RX. So you've kind of got to pick and choose and make sure you're still getting the intensity as well as the skill work. And then you're sort of looking at what in that 15-minute workout is causing you to like push it out. And, you know, that's maybe something you need to work on a little bit more outside of the workout. So like for me, when I was sort of first, like before I started doing RX workouts, you know, like some workouts I could get away with like trying to do all the reps or the strict handstand push-ups to the floor, stuff like that, but it really depends on the workout. And you can look, there's another question in here about like how to know when to scale an RX, but like if you're looking at the notes in SugarWOD, that's going to give you a really good reading as to whether you should try and do it prescribed or if you should, you know, scale it back to actually get the correct intensity. Because if it's meant to be something that's short, sharp, fast, that's a workout that's training your anaerobic base fitness. It's not necessarily something that's, you know, training your thruster capacity at a heavy weight for you, if that makes sense. Like you kind of got to pick and choose. Yeah. It's okay to have workouts too that smash you every now and again, but not always. You can't be doing that always. That's not going to help you to progress.
Yeah, maybe once a month or something, doing something that is a little bit beyond you and just having to like go into that place of being uncomfortable and having to really sort of battle through is okay, but I wouldn't be doing it much more frequently than that.
I would also say to try and prioritize like moving well, because the thing is like you can do workouts, you know, when they're light and fast, like pretty easily, but as soon as it starts to get heavier, like I think that's often in the opening quarterfinals where people get stumped, is as soon as, you know, a heavier weight comes in or the harder gymnastic movement comes in, they get stumped because they don't move well. So go back to basics, you know, go to weightlifting class, practice learning how to lift properly so that when a heavy lift comes in the quarterfinals, you're not just like completely held back by the movement.
Yeah, the skill side of it.
Yeah, so, and obviously there is only so much time in a week, so it is hard, but it goes back to that open gym stuff, kind of prioritising what you need to work on the most.
Look, number one thing is like turn up to class 4 or 5 days a week and
you'll
do
hit
it
most
consistently. and you'll just get better overall as the year progresses. So that's number one. Number two, as I said earlier, like, come and chat to a coach. If you really want to dial it in, we can sit down, we can look at all that information for you and come up with a bit of an actual plan, and then give you the right kind of things to be working on at the right times of the year, and really guide you more specifically on it. So,
and even if you don't do that, like, specific, like, personalized approach, just ask the coach. You can read the notes in SugarWOD. They're going to give you a really good rundown of what the stimulus is meant to be. Or you just ask the coach, like, do you reckon this is a good one for me to try and RX today? And they're going to, like, the coach, we know all the members and your abilities, like, to the most part. So, you know, we're going to be able to help you to decide if it's a good idea or if it's not a good idea for that workout on that said day.
Yeah, this other question is somewhat related to, I would like to know what options CrossFitters have to modify WODs in order to target certain objectives. Say if I wanted to improve speed, power, strength, endurance, or muscle size. So he's giving us a variety of things to improve on. I'm not going to assume that he means all of those at once. It's just like, if you wanted to try and particularly work on your speed and power for a period, how could you maybe manipulate or approach your training in a way that would help elicit that response?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it is hard in CrossFit. Sorry, I like zoned out, so I didn't really hear what you said. But it is hard in CrossFit to specifically like only work on one thing, especially if it's just speed and power, like if you just come in a CrossFit class. But you can improve speed, power, strength, endurance, muscle. Like, so say you wanted to just improve speed, power, and strength, I would say that you should definitely come to weightlifting class, because that's where we're working on speed, power, and strength. Olympic lifts, you've got power. We do plyometrics because an Olympic lift is an explosive movement. You've also got the strength side of it in there. If you want to improve endurance, CrossFit workouts, like, you know, you get a holistic approach to all of CrossFit. But if you just want to do endurance, you'd be showing up on Thursdays, you'd be showing up on Sundays where we do longer workouts. You'd be showing up to all those long workouts and not skipping out on them. Muscle size, that kind of relates to Stevens. I think we should go, I know we weren't naming names, but sorry, Stevens jacked, so you can know his question. We should do that one next. But
yeah, just coming back to that question too, I think to like what Hayley's alluding to, you can kind of pick and choose certain days and classes to come to that are going to help elicit you improving certain areas. Then within classes as well, like, you know, if a day where we have strength work and you do want to prioritize like speed and power over like strength, it's like you can pick your weights to be a little lighter and move them a little bit quicker as well, which is going to help with that to a degree. It's a little bit debatable, but like you can definitely skew things slightly as well. And, you know, again, just making the right decisions within workouts. If there's a barbell within the workout, it's like, if it's programmed, you want to get strong and it's programmed at a weight that is heavy for you, maybe you can't even do it, but you get as close to it as you can rather than like peeling it right back to a level where, okay, you might get an awesome score, but you can sacrifice your score, your rounds, reps maybe, to work with a slightly heavier barbell within reason. So there are little tweaks like that you can do as well.
And it's sort of that, like, too relates to the other one where if you, you know, your main focus is strength, you might, pick a heavier bar, and it might take you longer than someone else's whose main focus is going to be on the actual like cardiovascular fitness. They want to be moving as fast as possible. You know, that side of it, they might be doing something slightly lighter. So yeah, again, like if you want to like work on something specifically in a workout, like ask the coach. You can do the personal training or just ask them before. Be like, I really want to push a weight today. Like, do you think it's okay if I try and go a bit heavier? And then how can I modify the rest of the workout to allow myself to do that? So always chat to the coach. It's hard to do it by yourself, and we're here. You may as well ask us. Let's do that one next.
Cool. What are some ways to increase hypertrophy, which is muscle growth, with CrossFit training? Having previously found that I've struggled to put on muscle mass through CrossFit training alone, and wondering if I need to do more bodybuilding specific work, which leads to the question of how to balance CrossFit and bodybuilding training. Yeah, like personally, I've had no issues putting muscle on doing just CrossFit. Like, I think I started doing CrossFit, I weighed under 80 kilos and I weigh like 93 kilos right now. And that's mainly muscle mass. And I think that if you do any kind of resistance training regularly and you eat enough, calorie surplus, like, and get enough protein in, like, you're gonna build muscle. Yeah, you could argue that like certain forms of training might help you build it quicker. And this is where you've got to find that balance a little bit between, are you just after aesthetics or are you also after like strength along with it? But I don't think that sort of thinking like just by adding in bodybuilding training is going to be the thing that triggers you to necessarily build more muscle. Like, I think the number one thing is that you have to be stressing your muscles at least 4 times a week quite strenuously, and you have to be eating enough and sleeping enough for your body to build muscle tissue. And even then, when you do all those things right, it's fairly slow. And I know the person who asked this question, which is Stephen, and he's put on a heap of like weight and muscle from the start of the year, and his strength numbers and everything have been going up. And I know, and I've spoken to him, and like he's mainly just been eating more.
Yeah.
And it's not like, he'll tell you too, like he's not just putting on muscle, he's gained a little bit of body fat along with that. But the key thing for him is that he's just been eating more. I don't think he's been adding in like a heap of bodybuilding. He's been doing bits and pieces.
And I would say with like how saying that you've struggled to put on muscle mass through CrossFit training alone, I think the reason people do that is because CrossFit training is quite intense. So you are, using a lot of energy. You need to eat. If you're going to be doing CrossFit and you want to be building strength, you need to eat heaps. Like, you need to put all the energy that you've just burnt back into your body so that your body actually has something to, build the muscle mass with. If you just go for a long run and then do some squats and you don't eat enough to like actually let your muscles grow after you've just burnt 1,000,000 calories on your long run, you're not, like, it's just not going to work. That's like the main reason why it wouldn't work.
So number one is eat enough.
Yes.
It doesn't hurt though to add some bodybuilding type training in. Like, you can do that.
That's like you're stimulating the muscle more side of it.
But you don't have to rely on that alone. Like, if you're doing most of the CrossFit stuff you're doing, like we do quite a lot of heavy lifting, especially right now we're doing like 6 to 10 reps. That's like bodybuilding style repetitions. With those weights, you're spending plenty of time under tension. But if you look at all the top CrossFitters, like, they're freaking jacked. And they do minimal to no bodybuilding. It's become more in trend over the last few years, but they don't do it to build muscle. They do it to assist in their protection of their joints and connective tissue, and doing stuff that's just lower impact, that's stimulating the body, but without having the same neurological stress that's placed upon it when you're doing heavy lifts or moving a light bar but heaps of reps really quick. So understand that it has other roles than just building muscle. And we put it in like 4 days a week into weightlifting now, and I can tell you that its main function isn't to try and build muscle. It is to build strength in areas that don't always get stressed in our typical lifts. It's to help protect the body in terms of building the connective tissue without the same kind of stress that the heavy lifts put through it. And if it adds a little bit of muscle, great.
And the way that I think about it is that it's working all my little muscles, because like a lot of the CrossFit movements, they're all compound movements. They're working like quite big muscles. And then I find I get like niggles and stuff like that because you're never like really isolating one thing in a way. So when you do the bodybuilding, you're able to isolate like one muscle and sort of just work on that and work on like engaging it as well. So that way it's like more turned on and you can, The main reason I do it is to get less injured, not to get more jacked. But and then also people could just do bodybuilding and not eat, and they would put on like no muscle. So I think a lot of it comes down to what you're eating.
Cool, we're gonna cycle back here. Another question. Are there any specific breathing exercises that I can perform during exercise to keep my heart rate low, e.g. nasal breathing? Exactly.
Nasal breathing.
That is one
Spot on.
strategy. That is one strategy. And we put a workout in class just yesterday that said try and nasal breathe the whole way through. And I only took one class, but that whole class did an awesome job of it.
All my classes did so good.
I wouldn't say they all did it the whole way through, but everyone gave it a good shot. I would say at worst, maybe someone did it for 50% of the workout, but a lot of them were like 80, 90% plus. And it 100% helped regulate their intensity. They were working hard, don't get me wrong. They were finding the nasal breathing challenging, but it's a different
stress.
Stimulus. It's a different kind of working hard. Like you're working hard without having to deal with the same kind of shock to the system. It's more like, okay, and it brings you really in tune with your breathing, and it definitely, you can only work to such a high intensity while doing it. Like you're not supposed to be nasal breathing when you're working at an RPE of 8. You can to a degree, but if you're doing an 8 for like its maximum time constraint, you wouldn't do it the whole time. A 9 or a 10, you're not supposed to be nasal breathing. That's too intense an effort. But 100% working in like those 3 to up to like a 7, you should be able to either nasal breathe the whole way or for a good chunk of the workout.
And I find like there are like lots of different, breathing techniques you can try and just like throw in there. But personally, I've done a fair bit of work nasal breathing, and I did a whole lot of convincing yesterday. I took 5 out of the 6 classes, and at the start of every class, everyone's like, what's the point of that? Because obviously majority of the members are just used to being like smashed all the time. And I was like, the point of it is so that you make it through the whole 18 minutes at a good intensity, and you're not like completely floored at the end. You just feel like you've had a really good workout. And by the end of it, they're like, whoa, that was so weird. Like everyone was dripping sweat, but nobody was laying on the floor. No one was like dying towards the end of it. They all held the exact same pace the whole way through. And it was exactly as intended. And nobody said they didn't get a good workout in. That wasn't what I was going to say though.
Good feedback this morning too, where people were like, that was actually really, really good. I'm like, sweet, I'm glad they got that response because...
Well, people just don't understand. They read low intensity and they're like, oh, what's the point of that? But like, for example, yesterday I did a nasal breathing 15-minute AMRAP, and like my heart rate, my Whoop reckons that I was in zone 5, like for 3 minutes of it, even though I was able to nasal breathe the whole time. So my heart rate still got up. I was sweating, but then as soon as I finished, I was like, sweet. Like I felt better. Like it was just like energy bringing.
And I had the people doing the start of today's endurance workout.
Nasal breathing.
Said, you should, that RPE 3, I said, do it, nasal breathe. Like you should be able to, no problems.
Well,
and they all did that too, which was cool.
That's the other thing I was going to say is I don't necessarily like say in a workout, if I'm doing a hard, higher intensity workout, I'm not going to be able to nasal breathe the whole thing, right? But I know there's certain movements that I can nasal breathe, even just for like 10 seconds on. Like often if I jump on a machine, I'll nasal breathe for like 10 seconds just to like chill out, or like say double unders, which you have to be quite good at double unders to be able to nasal breathe them. But for double unders, I can nasal breathe, get back there and like nasal breathe, bring my heart rate back down, and then go back to mouth breathing, but I'm like in a much more chilled state. So you don't need to use it like yesterday we did it for the whole workout or tried to, but you can also just use it on certain movements just to keep yourself a little bit more controlled.
Another good time is we do a lot of intervals, and a lot of the time the intervals are going to be at an intensity that you can't sustain it. But when you have that 1-2 minutes of rest, whatever it is, that's the perfect time
to nasal breathe.
To get back to nasal breathing. You will actually recover quicker, you'll calm yourself down, you'll manage your heart rate, and even just by bringing awareness to your breath helps a lot. So yeah, that's something I try and do, especially in intervals, is use my nasal breathing in that rest period.
Yeah. All right, next we're sort of moving on to a different topic now. So next question is, what advice would you give to someone who hasn't worked out in a while and is struggling to find the motivation / discipline to get back into it? Yeah, this happens often where people sort of drop off and I feel like, you lose motivation, and obviously, you probably don't have great discipline if you've lost motivation, because discipline, you just keep coming no matter what. But I would just say you have to just find the discipline. Like, even if you don't have motivation, you need to just come And then the next day you need to come again. And then the next day you need to come again. And even if you feel crap, just keep coming, because that's how you build discipline. What's the thing? How many days does it take to create a habit? I don't know. There's a certain number of days.
It's generally at least 30. But yeah, like what Hayley's saying is true. There's no like easy way around it. You have to hold yourself accountable.
Yeah.
What I would say is that, motivation, it's going to come and go. And what we need to be able to do is, keep turning up regardless of how we're feeling and what emotional state we're in. But if you ever catch yourself trying to negotiate whether you leave the house to go to the gym or whether you get out of bed to get ready and come to the gym, as soon as you catch yourself talking to yourself, questioning it, the best thing you can do is just take action.
Yeah.
Is to actually step out of bed and like go and grab your shoes or whatever it is. If you ahhing before you get in the car, just go and grab your keys and walk to the car. You need to, find a way of just like breaking through that mental battle that you create, because you're always going to lose that battle. You're always going to talk yourself out of it. You're never going to talk yourself into it. But by taking physical action, that will break that mental struggle that you're having and make it a little bit easier to just move on.
And if you are in that sort of mindset where you're like, should I go, should I not go? Like, I don't want to go. You should, instead of being like, I don't want to go, I'm going to feel unfit there. It's going to hurt. I'm going to be sore, this, that, whatever. Think about all the positives that are going to come from it. So I'm going to get to go see all the people at the gym. I'm going to feel much better after going. It's going to be fun. Like, you're going to get workout endorphins. Even if it's tough, like, I can just move my body there. I don't need to put the pressure on myself to like necessarily do the hardest thing possible. I just need to show up and just do something. That's the way to start. Like, if you haven't trained in a while, you don't need to come back and just start training the exact same way you were training before. You just need to come back and start doing something, and we'll help you with that. Like, there's no need for you to be like absolutely thrashing yourself. Come in, movement is better than no movement. So
100%.
Yeah.
And that ties in this next question, which is not really asking for me, but have definitely had conversations with others on how to approach training around illness and injury, mentally and physically. And yeah, same thing, like doing something is better than nothing. Obviously, if you are sick or injured, we might have to take things a little bit easier and modify. But, I think people make the mistake of thinking that if I'm not working hard and I'm not working at my best level that I was when I was here or there or wherever, you're completely missing the point. It's not about a comparison to, others or yourself at different points in time. It's about taking positive action, day after day in the moment. So again, the coaches are more than happy to listen to where you're at, make adjustments. Our priority is to have you come in and have a good training session regardless of where you're at. And we don't care about having to modify around injuries and stuff like that. We all do it ourselves constantly. Like, I can't run at the moment. I've got an issue with my heel and I just don't run. I just do everything else I can. So yeah, we're aware of it. We're used to it.
And you've got to just...
You're not a hindrance.
Not at all. And you've got to just remind yourself why you're training. Like, why do you pay the membership to the gym? Most of the time, it's because you know that being fit and active is good for your health, both your physical health and your mental health. So you just got to remember that. Like, you don't need to come in and do like exactly what's written on the board, RX, to have a good session and to get workout endorphins and to feel better, right? You just need to do something. So remind yourself why you're training, and you don't get like caught up in doing exactly what everybody else is doing. Be okay with just like letting us know, you're not really feeling it today. You've got a bit of a niggle in your shoulder, this, that, whatever. Because if you let us know, say you've got, especially with injury, if you let us know that something's not feeling quite right, it's going to be better off in the long run, because then you can still come. So say you have like, for me, for example, say I have a sore shoulder and I'm like, my shoulder's really sore today, I'm not going to do the ring muscle ups or something. That's better than me just being like, oh, whatever, I'm going to do the ring muscle ups, and then the next day I can't do anything. Then I'm not even coming,
Play the long game.
Yeah, exactly. Play the long game. Next one.
What do I do if my brain says I can do it all, but my body is cracking up around me? listen to your body, because you can't just keep pushing through if you're getting different, challenges and issues with your body. You do need to be aware of that. It's basically if your body's breaking down in different ways, it's just your body of saying, hey, things are out of balance.
Yeah.
Maybe you're not sleeping enough. Maybe you're not eating enough. Maybe your training is too sporadic. And so when you are training at high intensity, your
You're
body's like, what
overloading.
the hell? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not conditioned for this. So maybe you need to increase your training frequency, but just bring the intensity, pull
Or
it
you
back
may
a little
need
bit.
to be a little more gentle on your body. Like, say you're coming back into training, you don't go back to like the same weights, or don't try and do the heaviest weights. Just build back in slowly. Let your body adapt.
I have spoken to this person in person and sort of had this chat with them, and very specifically for this individual asking that question, my advice was, I actually think you do need to increase your training frequency and just bring the intensity down a little bit so your body can adapt to this stimulus more consistently. Because sometimes, and this person has some challenges like their work, they're a shift worker, so their sleep does get interrupted. Some days they might not be, it's hard to come in for a few days, but they have got a gym at home. And I said, look, if you can get in the gym for 20 or 30 minutes on those days and just do a light body weight circuit, that's going to increase your frequency, and your body is going to adapt much better and handle the higher stresses when you do place them upon it. So
But listen to your body, and don't listen to it in the way where you're like, I shouldn't go because my shoulder hurts. Like, listen to your body as in come in and tell the coach and let the coach help you to modify in a way that's going to be for your best benefit,
I think we'll skip that one.
We kind of spoke about that.
Yeah.
If you are having if you're umming and ahhing, come in and just talk to us. Think about all the positives that you're going to get through training with our help, rather than just hurting yourself more.
Do you think that signing up for competitions can help motivate you to train harder?
I think yes, in a way, if you're mentally ready for that. I think if you're just looking for motivation just to train in general, I don't know that doing a comp is going to help you that much. I think you've got to kind of intrinsically find some motivation or some discipline to just train because because again, you train just for your mental health and your physical health. But I think, I don't know, to be honest, I don't think competitions will, I think specific ones, say for example, high rocks could be a good one to give you some motivation to train harder, because that's quite straightforward. There's not a whole lot of pressure around it. It just kind of gives you something to work towards. And I think it can definitely motivate you to train harder if you don't put a whole lot of pressure on the competition, in a way. Does that make sense? Now maybe we're just getting into my brain. What do you think?
Look, it does. But again, it's not so much the motivation that's the key aspect. I think the key aspect is that it creates accountability.
Yeah.
It helps you become more disciplined. And if we use High Rocks as an example, when everyone signed up for that and the 12-week program, I think we had, it's 12 weeks out. Everyone at the start, the energy's up, it's bubbling, da-da-da. They get in, and it was probably like that for a couple of weeks. But I do know that as it went on, it's not that people lost motivation. The excitement definitely would have dropped a little bit, just settled, which is normal. It's totally fine. But they had that thing at the end where they needed to stay
showed up.
disciplined. They needed to stay accountable. They knew that if they didn't, that it was going to be really hard, doing that challenge on the day. So again, yes, I do think competitions and challenges and events, things like this can be really good ideas, but I would argue that it's more of a accountability thing that creates discipline versus a motivation thing that is the key to it.
And I think it is actually, could be quite a good tool to help you to build discipline, because it takes 30 days or whatever to form a habit. So if you get into a really good habit, coming to the gym, training, and then the key thing is after the comp, you need to just continue that. So not use the comp as all right, I'm done. That was great. you need to just continue. And all the High Rocks people have done a great job at continuing their training because they have such strong discipline around just showing up and, doing the work. So motivation and discipline are two very different things. So if you're looking for motivation, that's got to come from inside.
All right, we've got a bunch of nutrition questions next. First one, if I'm training early in the morning, what kind of food should I have for breakfast, and how long before I train should I eat?
So there's a few different things. I think it's a personal preference. What I've been doing, so last month I've been training in the mornings, which has been really fun. Shout out to all you 5:30 legends. You guys are absolute rock stars. Like, man, they are
tough
rock
cookies.
Stars. They are tough cookies. Like, I feel like I am a tough cookie, but man, some mornings it was really cold and it was really hard to get out of bed. So good on you all. Anyway, I would get up and I had a Milo bar every day before I trained. So I'd either have it at home if I had enough time, I'd have it in the car on the way here, or I'd have it like while we were doing the strength part of my training, just because I know that I do better when I've got some food in my system. Like, I'm not quite as good at like training fasted. Some other things that I've eaten in the past is like half a banana, something like that. Something that's just quick carbs. Like, I wouldn't really sit down and have like a proper meal. I'd have a quick carb before I train and then have proper breakfast after. I know someone like Ben, he, is a bit better at training fasted, so you probably wouldn't need anything.
Yeah, I'd happily just train on an empty stomach. But yeah, I think for most people, it's probably, if you asked all the 5:30 a.m., I'd say it's a little bit split.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes for different reasons. Some of them probably might want to eat, but they just prefer to sleep in than get up and eat something. But if you're eating something like half a banana,
you can eat it right before.
Yeah, even 10 minutes before, you're probably going to be okay. But
Yeah.
I'd say generally 20 to 30 minutes before, so you wake up, you sort of, get something in, hopefully getting to the gym at least 5-10 minutes beforehand. You start lightly moving.
Well,
and
we also
digesting.
have like the strength portion like in there most days. So you're not actually doing the high intensity workout until 45 minutes into the class. So that's like, I would eat I think you condition yourself to eat stuff too, like in regards to the how long before should you eat. Like, I could eat a banana like 2 seconds before I do a workout and be fine. But that's because I've conditioned myself to be able to do that. So, if you just start slowly and have something small, you should be able to eat something quick, carb, digesting, half banana.
Smoothie's a really good option, actually.
Yes.
Like, if you did that
smoothie is just a little bit, I probably wouldn't.
Depends what you put in it, but I mean, like, I know for me, sometimes like I will train in the morning, and when I have done that, like, I've been totally fine to like drink especially if I'm doing strength work, I'll be drinking it during it.
Yeah. And
then I can go into workout, I'm fine. But it is...
I wouldn't start with the smoothie though, because that is a little bit of a higher volume, like, of food.
You could have a small one, or like not that I'm saying these are good, what are those, Up and Goes or something?
Yeah,
like,
Up and Go,
you
that's
could have
a bit milky.
something
I
like
wouldn't do
that, but it's very individual. Like, you have to go and actually try some things out and see how you go. So,
but I would recommend before training, like even in the afternoon, like say you're coming to training like after work, you've had lunch a few hours ago. If you're in a short time frame before training, just easy to digest carbs are the way to go. So like muesli bars, you can have like the nutty ones, they're gonna like fill you up a little bit more, but they're gonna be a bit slow to digest. But the like Milo bars, LCM bars, Nutri-Grain bars, they're all just like quick carbs. You could have a sandwich, like just a small sandwich with like honey or jam in it. You could have a banana, you could have a smoothie that if you put a lot of protein powder in your smoothie, it's gonna be a little bit harder to digest, but quick carbs digest very quickly. Yeah.
Next one. How do you tell if you've eaten too much or too little? What's the best way to adjust so that you don't under eat? And what's a baseline to start with if you have no idea? I'm not sure if this is directly in relation to like around training or just in general. I think it might more be a bit of a general thing.
Yeah, I think so.
So if you're treating it around that, like number one, if you're wasting away and you've got no energy, then that's a pretty good indicator that you're not eating enough. And if you're eating too much, you might be putting on unwanted weight. Sometimes too, if you're eating too much, and particularly a lot of, high carbohydrate stuff, that can actually make you not feel like you've got a lot of energy too. So, I honestly, I think for something like this, the kind of advice that you're really wanting, you're best to try and find a nutrition coach or a nutritionist to go and see. Unfortunately, we don't have Katie that we can refer people to anymore, but yeah, there's lots of them out there. I think that in your case, that's probably the best way to go about it.
It's good to get sort of specific advice on nutrition, especially if you are looking at your whole day. When it comes to what do I eat before a workout, that's very easy to just try different things, and it's not super big in the whole big picture. But yeah, having a proper plan, because different people require different amount of foods for the amount of energy they expend, what their day's like, what their training's like, what their goals are. So that's definitely something to, if you're pretty serious about it, it's something that's worth getting individualized advice on from a specific nutritionist or dietitian. And if you want suggestions on people to see, or just come chat to us, because we have, I see a dietitian. There's also just a lot out there that you can sort of reach out to. So yeah, come chat to us and we can point you in the right direction. But if you're pretty serious about knowing what to eat and you're wanting to eat for performance or for a specific body composition goal, getting individualized advice is quite beneficial.
That same person actually asked in the next question, what's the best way to lose weight while maintaining performance? Is it possible? It's definitely possible, a little bit depending on where you're starting, because if you're someone who's fairly lean and you're wanting to get leaner, there might be some little trade-offs there. But yeah, for probably the average person, in my opinion, you can definitely get leaner while increasing performance, and you can build muscle too. And if you look at, we have so many people who come to us, do their body scan, do another one 3 to 6 months later, and they have improved their performance, they have lost body fat, they have increased muscle mass, they're more hydrated. And a lot of that just comes from doing the basics of training regularly and just cleaning up their diet slightly. Yeah. For someone who's been doing it for longer and maybe is eating reasonably well, but just it's not quite tipping them in the right direction, then you might need to go a little step further. But again, I would say that that's something for us, we're only going to give you some either general stuff or some stuff from our own experience. But cycling back to finding a good nutritionist to work with is your best bet.
It makes a big difference, and just generalize, what might work for me isn't going to work for majority of the members in the gym, because they're not a 24-year-old girl doing.
And they're not training twice as much.
Yeah, but so just it's not. I can't give you my food plan and say, eat this, it's going to work. You need to sort of get your own individualized plan if you are serious about it. Yeah. If you're just kind of wanting to sort of see how you go, we can give you generalized advice, which we kind of do give everyone anyway. And as long as you sort of follow that, you might see some changes. But if you're pretty serious about it, then go see a nutritionist.
Last 2 questions, we're almost there.
No, we did.
Oh, did we skip some?
I think. Or
all right, let's keep going with this. The next one anyway. How do we know if we need to have a protein shake or any other supplements before or after training? Would it be beneficial for those of us mere mortals who are just trying to stay fit?
I would say yes. Everybody needs protein. And I think it depends on how much protein you consume outside of, just in your general life. Obviously, if you're trying to build muscle and that, you might require more protein than others. But, people in my life, they don't eat nearly enough protein for anything, because they don't go to the gym. They're I don't need to eat protein. But you just need protein for a healthy mind, healthy body, healthy muscles, bones, everything.
Yeah, I think generally speaking, and this is something, one of our other podcasts, so I asked Katie, what's one of the biggest flaws you see working on nutrition with people? And she's not getting enough protein. Yeah. And it's really, really common, we live in a world where a lot of the foods we eat are very carbohydrate, sugar, processed fats and stuff like that dominant, and so we're not getting a huge amount of protein. And something I would say to people is it's not just about performance. If you want good longevity, one of the biggest determiners in terms of your quality of life as you age is how much muscle mass you maintain. Now, you don't have to be building crazy amounts, but as you age, if you can hold on to what you've got through your middle life, you're going to have a better quality of life on average than someone who gradually wastes away and loses their physical capacity. So Yes, in terms of specific timing, I would just say it's more about hitting a consistent target or amount day to day than worrying too much about specific timing.
So yeah, you've got to kind of look at how much protein you're consuming throughout the day. And if you're not quite getting enough, then maybe you need to have a protein shake to, you know, fill the gap of protein. But yeah, there's all sorts of things saying about like time frames in after training. But yeah, if you consume enough protein throughout the day, you'll be fine. You just need to make sure you're getting enough. Yeah, that one.
That one.
Yep.
All right, cool. This is a good question too. Can you address appropriate scaling so the desired stimulus of the workout is achieved even though not RXing? So yeah, and when this question was asked, I actually commented on the Facebook page as well. But number one thing that you guys can do to understand the workout stimulus and ways we can modify the workout to reach that for different levels is read the athlete notes.
Yeah.
When you go on SugarWOD, you go down, there are workout notes, you click on that, it's gonna give you, if we're doing an AMRAP, like rough rounds and reps target. If you're doing for time workout, it's gonna give you a rough time gauge that we're looking to achieve that in. And then it's going to go underneath that and it's going to say, this is roughly how the workout should feel. It's going to be either really aerobic or heart rate. It might be more like muscle fatigue and lactic acid. It might be real grip burner, something like that. And then below that, you're going to have strategy, which is going to either talk about generalized strategy or get into real specifics with movements. And in that, it might have some specific targets in terms of like, you should get through these reps in about a minute. And if you can't, we're going to drop it from 21 reps to 15 or so on. And this is how you might break it up. So number one is check the athlete notes.
That's going to give you like a base, you know, knowledge before you even come into the class. Because then I know I pretty much relay all that information to my class during the session too, but people aren't good at listening. So they often...
Yeah, number two, listen in class. Listen to the coach, pay attention.